So what does the future hold for Ben Shalom? Well, to be fair, it don't matter one little bit what a mug like me says. The chickens are going to come home to roost in May when the Boxer Sky 4-year deal comes to a close. So will it be renewed by the media giants, or will it be squashed? Will Sky even stay within the sport in any capacity, or potentially has Ben single-handedly killed off the mighty Sky Sports Boxing? Let me explain. Now yes, of course I don't want this to be an attack on Ben. It's actually more of an appeal to him, really, an open letter if you will, a plea for him to pull his fucking finger out, to be honest. Try to see things from a boxing fan's point of view and understand our frustrations in the past few years. So, first of all, here is a silly little poll I put out the other day. Okay, granted, I haven't done one for any other promoters, but either way, you can't lie, this does tell a rather interesting story. But it all started so well for Ben. He slipped in amongst Eddie's surprising departure, and within a month or so, bosh, the mega fight Brook versus Khan that was years in the making was finally made. I mean, I think it may have been more to do with that dodgy fucker Mazza Majid getting the fight over the line, but still, with that and Taylor Catchall, within the span of a few months, we said, oi, okay, we're all on board the Ben Shalom train, you're shaking things up, and we're liking what we're seeing. But then, it all kind of just went a bit south, really. And to be honest, as we sit here 3.5 years into the Boxer Sky deal, looking back, what have actually been the highlights? What can we hang our hats on and say, yes, that was super smashing great? Well, I suppose Eubank versus Smith, they were two cracking build-ups and exciting fights. Then, okay, we'll let him have Brook versus Khan as well. Fabio Wardley, Fraser Clark, that was terrific. Fight of the year. I mean, took a fucking while to make because of a load of purse bid bumfluffery, but still. Then Shields versus Marshall, yep, superb. Taylor Catchall, controversial but good. Billum Smith react poor. Billum Smith or Coley, yeah, okay. Not great fights but decent matchups. And then, yeah, I'm struggling. Okay, there were some other half-decent fights in there, but overall, it's just not really meaty enough, is it? Compare that to Frank Warren, for example. He gave us 3 well-stacked Magnificent 7 cards, Chisora versus Joyce, Fury Usyk twice, AJ Dubois, and a load of incredible fights within the 5 versus 5, plus AJ Ngannou. And incredibly, that's just in 2024. Ben's list of highlights we just mentioned have been over a 3.5-year period. And I know people will say, oh yeah, but if the Saudi influence weren't there, Frank wouldn't have put on all these cracking shows. And yes, of course, you are right, but to be fair, Frank went and actively seeked out this Saudi opportunity. He put in the graft to make it happen. Any other promoter could have done the same thing. Anyway, the big problems that I can personally see with Boxer over the past few years have been this. First of all, outside of the juicy fights mentioned like Eubank, Smith, Brook, Khan, etc., everything else has been pretty much a foregone conclusion. What I mean is, in regards to a lot of the headline fights that Benny Boy has put on, you look at them and go, well, the A-side is obviously going to fucking win that. It's like if we go and look back on the Boxer past events, we go, right, Riakporhe versus Turchi, obviously Riakporhe was going to win that. Billum Smith versus fucking X-Ray, I can't say that name, but yes, obviously Billum Smith was going to win that. Then Natasha Jonas was always going to beat Dekere, Adam Azim was always going to beat Reyes, Riakporhe was always going to beat Breguion, Okolie was always going to beat Light, Buatsi was always going to beat Stepien, Clark was always going to beat Wack, and the list goes on. Most of these headline fights were the type of fights that the bookies go, yeah, I wouldn't bother, mate, you put on £1,000 and you'll win about 50 fucking p. So yes, the fans ain't exactly getting 50-50 fights, but when you got headliners like that, at least make the undercard double juicy to spice it up. But yeah, undercards ain't really Ben's forte, to be honest. So in the end, we've been given a lot of unexciting, one-sided fights with no narrative to them next to a relatively unimpressive undercard. That's often been the theme, and it really don't erect your nipples, does it? By the way though, it's not all Ben's fault, because some of these fighters don't do him any favours either. How often do these fighters sit there in the press conference and go, yeah, I had a really good camp this time, thanks for asking. Actually, I was just saying to my S&C coach the other day that I've had a really good camp, and he said, yeah, I agree, it's been a really good camp. I mean, my last camp was good as well, but I reckon this camp was better because it felt like a really good camp this time. And because I had a good camp, I'm really looking forward to Saturday night. Thanks a lot, everyone. And it's like, oh, fucking hell, leave off. How's that getting us pumped up? There's more excitement than a fucking bowls club. I mean, think about it. The 3 most successful events for Benjamin were Eubank Smith, Shields Marshall and Brooke Khan. What did they all have in common? Yes, loads of needle, loads of hype and loads of excitement. In fact, Ben, you know what you should have done, bruv? You should have been the first promoter to put in each of the fighters' contracts when you do media and press conferences. You have an obligation to sell the fight to the fans. You have an obligation to start a bit of needle and hype it up to get the people's attention and their intrigue. I mean, I know Miss Tits is a load of shit, but you can't argue with the fact that they've got the blueprint to hype a fight, and that's why they do massive numbers. Apparently we've lost the great Tyson Fury, now we're about to lose Dilboy as well, two of the greatest fight hypers of all time, which is why they draw such a massive crowd. But there's not a single up-and-coming boxer replicating these two in the slightest, and that's quite a sad thought, to be honest. Talking of old Dilboy, anyone see him pop up with old Nigel Farage a couple of days after his fight? Actually, by the by, a few news outlets are calling his fight with Wallin a hard-grueling fight, while some outlets are saying it was double easy and he absolutely bullied him. I mean, obviously the latter is true, but I get to see all the different sides through the means of the brilliant Ground News. Yes, Ground News is a nifty website and app that has revolutionised how you get your news, giving you an easy, data-driven and objective way for you to read it. Now, from over 50,000 sources across the world, Ground News will gather the relevant and related articles all up in one place so you can compare how the same story is covered by different outlets. Like, for instance, The Independent are calling it a complete bullying by Derek, in which Otto didn't do a thing all night, yet the Daily Mirror are calling it a blood-soaked, hard-earned battle in which he had to overcome a lot of problems. Yes, of course, the Mirror's talking waffle, it weren't no problem at all. But anyway, Ground News isn't just for the politics fanatics, it's also for the sports fanatics as well, especially us avid boxing fans. It's all about understanding how the stories shaping your favourite sport are told and why the different outlets might play on certain angles. It's an absolute game changer. And best of all, they're currently offering a whopping 40% off their Vantage plan, which gives you unlimited access to all their superb features. You can only get the deal by going to ground.news/proper or clicking the link in the video description below, or scan the QR code that's all up in your grill on screen right now. So subscribe to Ground News today for the same price as your favourite coffee. Link below now. Where were we? Anyway, yes, as I say, it's not all Ben's fault, but he could have sprinkled a bit of sparkle over these events to get some hype in there. He should have said to his fighters backstage, make sure you fucking dig him out, bruv. Throw a table over him, call him a butt plug, do what you want, just liven the fucking presser up. And guaranteed you'll earn more money and garner more fans because of it anyway. Everyone's sitting there saying nothing, trying to be liked by everyone, but fuck that, it's not gonna happen. Lose your rag divide opinion, why not? But back to the point, sorry Ben, ultimately though, boxer press conferences in the last few years have been pretty painful, to be honest, bruv, and that's never a good start to get boxing fans keen for a fight. I just feel you need to take some more risks, Benny boy, and talking of risk, this has been a major factor in the decline of Sky Sports boxing. You've been too scared to take any risks whatsoever, bruv. You pulled out of purse bids for Wardley Clark, yes okay we got it eventually, but also Riakporhe Opetaia, Adam Azim, Dalton Smith, Isaac Chamberlain, Chev Clark, Beatrice Ferreira, Caroline Dubois. I mean, fans want great fights, and on multiple occasions you've restricted us from getting great fights, Benny boy, and that's never gonna go down well, is it? Plus, the most demoralising thing about all this is that when Riakporhe pulled out of the Opetaia fight, he went on to fight Breguion. Adam Azim pulled out of purse bids to fight Harlem Eubank, which would have been a decent fight, but then all of a sudden he didn't. And Fraser Clark pulled out of purse bids with Fabio Wardley to instead fight Marius Pissing Whack. I mean, come on Ben, you're messing with our feng shui, bruv. You're pumping and dumping us. We're all thinking, aye, we're gonna get a Ferrero Rocher here, and then we open it up and inside is a fucking carrot. It's happened far too often. We know you're protecting their records, but newsflash Ben, them days are over now. Turkey's in town. He has thankfully put an end to the Mayweather undefeated era because it was boring, nothing was happening and everyone was too tentative. Now it's time you gotta roll the dice, as they say. Oh, and by the by, it's not a great look what you've been doing recently to your golden ladies, is it? Oh, Savannah Marshall and Fran Hennessy, not to mention their team members Peter Fury and Bradley Skeet have got the right fucking up with you, stitching them right up.
To be honest, I'm not too sure myself. I've been told for weeks that I'm definitely on the card, you know, and that to come here today because I'm going to be on the table and things, and then I've got here today and I'm not even on the table, so I'm a bit confused as to what is going on, to be honest. I feel a little bit disrespected.
That has actually been resolved now, by the by, but then Savannah Marshall was told the same date, so she started camp in December, gets to the presser and is also sidelined, plus her fight is off completely now. Of course, we don't know all the details, but it weren't the best look, especially in regards to Fran. You want to keep her sweet, she's got the potential to be mega. And it's not as if there's an abundance of shows to get them out on nowadays. Boxer only managed 9 shows last year compared to 16 in their first year. So why all of a sudden has it almost halved? In fact, being brutally honest, it's halved and the quality has dropped as well, so that ain't great. Ultimately, I just wonder, if you're a boxing fan and you're not too fussed about other sports, are you buying a Sky Sports subscription to watch the Boxer roster, or are you saying no bollocks to that? And then the other big question is, will Sky Sports look at these 9 shows in 2024 and go, yes, money well spent, let's plough another multi-million quid investment into Ben for next year? Or will they go, this money could be better spent elsewhere? Who knows, we'll find out soon. But anyway, as I say, all this bollocks I'm waffling on about is all just personal opinion, and it's honestly nothing personal to Ben. I don't want him to lose his job or lose his broadcaster or anything like that. That's not the type of man I am. I want him to do really well. In fact, I want him to be really successful, because then us as boxing fans win as a byproduct. So like a lot of you, I just want him to liven up a little bit. I genuinely hope either his contract gets renewed or it don't get renewed, but he gets another decent broadcaster like TNT or DAZN, and then he goes, right, fuck it, listen up everyone, we're going to make some serious noise now. You're all getting 50-50 fights, we're rolling the dice more often, and we don't give a monkeys if you win or lose. And on top of that, we're sparking up some narratives and needle between you all, hyping the tits off of every event, and of course, we're working with other promoters as much as possible, which incidentally is also going to help to create big fights. If there's one thing for certain, he's got some blinding fighters over there at Boxer, the likes of Buatsi, Bacoli, Azim, Simpson, Fran, the list goes on. So with the right promotion, they could all end up being mega stars. Hopefully they are, but the way things are going, who knows? Let us know your thoughts. See you later.